Good evening. My name is Roderick Hawkins. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs here at the Chicago Urban League, and I want to, of course, welcome you to our home. And our home is now your home. This is your first time here, and we hope that you'll come back. A little bit about us, because I got to give my commercial. Don't worry, everything I'm going to talk about is free. So we've been around the Chicago Urban League as part of the National Urban League that's been around for over 100 years. We've been here in Chicago for nearly a century. We're actually going to be 99 at the end of this year. We're old but not cold. But what we've been doing since then is we were established, of course, in 1916 when African Americans were leaving the Jim Crow South in search of a better life in the North and the Midwest. And of course, they found life wasn't all it was cracked up to be in Chicago either. But there were organizations like the Chicago Urban League that would actually literally meet people at the trains and say, "Welcome to the city. If you need some help, here's where to go. If you need a job, here's where to go. If you need to get your kids in school, here's where to go." Well, times have changed, but the mission is still the same. We hear about empowering communities, and we have programs that work with young people 13 to 25 in education. We will help people find and purchase their own homes or keep the homes they've got from foreclosure. We also have a workforce development program, so if you're looking for work, give us a call, come to us, show up. We have a great workforce development department. They work hard every day to place hundreds of people in job every year and to train thousands of people to get prepared to enter or re-enter the workforce. We have an entrepreneurship center. So for the entrepreneurs in the house, we have free programs. In fact, one was going to be on the other side, but they must have gone to another floor. So lucky you. So you got the whole room to yourselves tonight. We do entrepreneurship training, and we, in human capital, where we work with African-American high-risk males in the Inglewood community. So all that said, we do that but we don't do that alone. We work with a lot of organizations around the city and lots of partners. And we were very fortunate to partner with Affinity Community Services back in, a while ago. A while ago, but we were part of the steering committee for the Illinois Unites for Marriage campaign, and thanks to fantastic people like the lady I'm going to pass the mic to. Of course, we have marriage equality in Illinois, but the work is not done. We know that there's more to do. We talk about life beyond marriage and other things when it comes to, let's say, of course, transgender equality, transgender rights, as well as other issues that still go beyond marriage equality, workforce discrimination, other things. So, and we will be an ally to the LGBTQ movement on those issues as well. So the work does, obviously, tonight is a true testament that the work did not end with the passage of that bill. There's still much more work to do. So the Chicago Urban League, we're glad that you're here tonight. I'll make sure we leave some materials before you exit. Please pick them up. And while, yes, we definitely primarily serve the African American community, we turn no one away. If you need some support, come to the Chicago Urban League. We're here for you. So I hope this isn't your last time here, and I'm going to stick around. I'm looking forward to enjoying the program. And again, welcome home to the Chicago Urban League. And now, please give a hello to the Executive Director of Affinity Community Services, Ms. Kim L. Hunt.
Oh my God. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can we get a little more energy in the room? Good evening. That's better. All right. Thank you, Roderick, for that really warm reception. I hope I can live up to it. Affinity Community Services is celebrating its 20th year this year. So the pictures that you see are from our long history in Chicago. We are so excited to be here tonight. As Roderick said, the Chicago Urban League has been a partner many times over for us, and now to be partnering with StoryCorps on the project that you're going to get a glimpse of tonight is just fantastic. Just to give you a little background about Affinity, we are an organization that talks about LGBTQ people in the Black community and Black people in the LGBTQ community. So that's a pretty broad mission. Our work focuses on health and wellness, civic engagement, and leadership development. We create opportunities for people to lead now. We consider Affinity to be a vehicle for social justice and for social change. And so a lot of times people come to us with ideas that we work with them to implement. We have groups that meet monthly. One is our 40 plus group, which is women who are in their 40s and 50s. It's more of a social group. We have the Affinity Trailblazers, which is our senior group, and they are so active. I mean, I leave their parties early. We have a trans focus group, and we have a proud parents group. So those are folks who meet regularly. We also do a lot of community forums, workshops, public education, popular education, I should say, and all of those things related to social justice. One of our other partners in the room today is the Legacy Project. And I encourage everyone to take a look at this exhibit over here because it features some of the African American people in history who also happen to be LGBT. And a lot of times that part about their lives have not been included in their biographies. So I think you're going to learn some stuff as you look at the exhibit. The Legacy Walk is on Halstead, and the pylon there is what many of you have seen if you've been to the Lakeview community. Stop and look at the plaques. You'll find out some incredible information. Victor Salvo is the executive director, he's so shy, of the Legacy Project, and he will be on our CAN TV show tomorrow, which is at 6:30, and if you have Comcast, I think it's channel 26, they also run it simultaneously online. So I could talk about Affinity all day, that's what executive directors do, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna turn the mic over to this team that is just fantastic. This is the team from StoryCorps. So who gets the mic next?
All right. So as I mentioned before, I'm Andre. These are my colleagues, Alicia Williams, Shirley Alfaro. What's your name? No, Francesco Del Salvatore. And so what we do is we facilitate stories between everyday people. So everyday people come in to our booth, which is in the Chicago Cultural Center, and they have a conversation. This is between family members, between loved ones, between friends, between lovers. You get to choose who you bring and what you talk about. And we're really there to capture those stories. And then at the end of every recording, you get to go home with a broadcast quality version of that conversation on CD, so you can keep it, remix it, send it to family members, and then you also can have that archived. So we have two different initiatives, or we have several initiatives that are sort of focuses on specific communities that don't get heard from as much on the radio, right? And so one of our initiatives is the Griot Initiative. And so what that is we partner with the Smithsonian African American Museum of Culture and History. So all people who identify as being of African descent can have their stories archived there, as well as in the Library of Congress. So that way your future generations, you have great-great-great-grandkids, and they're looking for you. They can find out, they can listen to what you had to say today. And then we also have an initiative for the LGBT community. And so we have a broadcast every day, or every Friday, for the next year that is dedicated to the LGBTQ community. So that means we get to hear from so many of us in the community, right? There's a lot of different kinds of people, and it's like, it always gets distilled down to like that one queer person or that one lesbian person. But part of what I get excited about is that we get to hear from so many different kinds of people, just like today. So you can learn more about us on StoryCorps.org. You can listen to stories. Some of them will make you cry. But today, we hope that we are going to have a rich discussion. I don't think there's going to be that much crying, but you can feel free to do that if you need to. And Kai Green is going to lead us in this conversation.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. So I'm very, very happy to be here. I love StoryCorps. I love stories. It's something that I live for. I live for people's narratives, people's stories. Sometimes our stories, our narratives, that is the power that we have to tell, different kinds of histories, right? We are given oftentimes a sort of narrative, a normative narrative. This is how the world was created. And something that I am really interested in is telling stories that give ideas about how we can recreate the world, right? How we can reshape and make a new world where all of our bodies, queer, black, trans, differently abled bodies, there's space for us, right? There's space for us to be there, to build, to create. So you're probably saying, who are you? Because I didn't introduce myself. My name is Kai Marshall Green, and I am a professor at Northwestern in sexuality studies and African American studies. I want to give a shout out to my students who are in the house. Raise your hand. There you go. They're all a part of my course called Queer in the City, where we are examining sort of the racialized and sexualized spatial narratives. So the work that I do, or that I did in Los Angeles, and I'm here in Chicago from Los Angeles, I did a study of Black LGBT space and placemaking in South Central LA. And the reason why I did that is because most people think of a place like South Central LA and they don't go there to find queer stories or queer histories, but we are there and we have been there creating that space and shaping that space. So I actually, if you don't mind, I want to open with a piece which for me is like a prayer to sort of set the tone of this evening. Is that okay? Yes. All right. This is called A Litany for Revival. Litany, a prayer consisting of a series of invocations and supplications. Revival, an act or instance of reviving, the state of being revived, renewed attention to, or interest in something. A new presentation or publication of something old, restoration of force, validity, or effect. In poetry is not a luxury. Audre Lorde reminds us, there are no new ideas, only new ways of making them felt. I find you, Black queer histories, Black queer geographies, mapping the terrain of the unnamed and the unknown, but we know you, we feel you. I find you in folders and boxes stored away in cold, dark rooms on shelves. You, like boiling water, somehow keep your fire while overflowing, and I receive the overflow. I am ready now. Were you waiting for me? Because I have been dreaming of you and your stories. Were you dreaming about me and my friends back then? Were you thinking of us when you asked for Black and gay and race and class and gender and sexuality, intersectionality, intergenerationally? See, your souls reached out to me and I have been touched. Anointed because you were unafraid to tell it like it is. Your visions have shaped future generations of Black queer freedom dreamers, Black weirdos, Black nerds who just want to be. We must get free. Were you thinking of yourselves and just how bad you were and are? They told me you didn't exist like this, but I have seen you now through the feeling. And I come to you with questions. How did we get here? I know I can't go back, but perhaps you can give me some ideas as to how to move forward. I come to you humbly and with gratitude. I thank you for the doing and the writing. I thank you for documenting your stories and lives as you lived and loved so fiercely. And I know the record is incomplete. I know there are things I will never truly come to understand, but please teach me what I need to know for now. For this moment and for these people, my people, you have certainly helped to make possible our radical imaginations. Yes, a new world is not only possible, it is desirable. We want it. We are hungry for revival and restoration. I talk to you in the past and bring you to the future and back again. See, there is no death for us Black queers, only resurrection, reincarnation, because I will never quit you and I know you will never leave me. Past, present, and future all collide to make a beautiful Black feminist elsewhere, and we don't have time, only love, revolutionary in its call. It comes to heal us as it came to heal you. Your arms, your poetry, your music embrace us, and we love back. We touch back, and they said we didn't. They said we couldn't exist, and maybe they can't see, but I know they feel us now. Audre Lorde, Toni Cade Bambara, Sojourner Truth, Gloria Hole, and Anne Ellen Shockley, Cheryl Clark, June Jordan, Pat Parker, Frances Beale, Jewel Gomez, Angela Davis, Patricia Hill Collins, Bell Hooks, Ida B. Wells, Flo Kennedy. You, all of you in this space, there are no new ideas, only new ways of making them felt. Reach out to your ancestors and just watch how they reach back. We were never meant to survive, but we are here and we will never die because our lives are not bound by Earth's time. No, not this landscape. We know spaceships that go beyond space. We carry our maps on our backs in our blood. With our dreams of freedom, we continue to make the world anew. So welcome to the revival. That's it. So I'm very, very happy to be sort of facilitating this discussion this evening. I think it's going to be fun. What do y'all think? Yeah, you're going to ask some hard questions, I can already tell. So the first, well, let me see. There's some things that I need to announce. They're gender-neutral bathrooms, right? If anyone does not want to be featured on CAN TV, just let our filmmaker know. We also want to thank CAN TV for doing this, for recording this. We know that the archive is important. We know that it's important for everyone who wants to remember their histories, right? So I'm going to introduce the first clip, which is James Baldwin, revolutionary writer and critic, sat down with oral historian Studs Terkel in 1961. He discusses his experience growing up and realizing what it means to be black in America. That's a lot. Do you know what it means? So this recording was made possible by the Studs Terkel Radio Archive. It consists of thousands of interviews and programs, mostly originally broadcast between 1952 and 1998 on WFMT Radio in Chicago. All of Studs' interviews will eventually be available on a free streaming website. The official website is being created through a partnership between WFMT Radio Network, the Chicago History Museum, the Library of Congress, Pop-Up Archive, and other partners. For more information, visit studsterkel.org. And with that,
I was born in a church, for example, and my father was a very rigid and righteous man. But of course, we were in Harlem. We lived in a terrible house. And downstairs from us, there were, all these, what my father called good time people. There was a prostitute and all of her paramours and all that jazz. I remember I loved this woman. She was very nice to us. But we weren't allowed to go to her house. And whenever we went there, we were beaten for it. And when I was older, that whole odor of gin, homemade gin, really, and pig's feet and chitterlings and poverty and the basement, all of this got terribly mixed up together in my mind with the whole holy roller white god business. And I really began to go a little out of my mind because I obviously wasn't white. It wasn't even a question so much of wanting to be white, but I didn't quite know anymore what being black meant. I couldn't accept what I'd been told, and all you ever told in this country about being black is that it's a terrible, terrible thing to be. Now, in order to survive this, you have to really dig down into yourself and recreate yourself, really, according to no image which yet exists in America. You have to impose, in fact, this may sound very strange, you have to decide who you are, and force the world to deal with you and not this idea of you.
let's just give a round of applause for James Baldwin, because James Baldwin was bad. He was bad. That's, so I was thinking maybe there was so much in that short clip, right? He was always dropping these pieces of knowledge. And so what we're going to do now is sort of do a partner discussion. I was wondering if we could think about sort of what does it mean to craft your own self when you have all of these sort of stereotypes, these scripts that tell you what you're supposed to be? Maybe perhaps think about what it's meant for you to be black or whatever your identities are, right? How did you come into those things and how did you craft them for yourself? And the reason why I'm saying this is I'm really thinking of a title of a Marlon Riggs film, if you all know, Black Is, Black Ain't. We talk about that a lot in my class, and sort of the notion that black is so many different things that you can't just contain it as one thing. So I wonder if we could just sort of turn to your neighbor, introduce yourself, get to know them a little bit. If you know your neighbor, you might want to switch it up and move to someone else, right? And just sort of think about all the ways that you sort of been told this is who you are and how you have challenged that and how have you created the person that you are today. What are those identities that influence that being? In my class, we started with the question, and what was that question? When and where do I enter? What are the worldviews that shape who you are? So let's just go there. Y'all, I mean, if you want to, you with me? So we're gonna move on to the next clip. We're going to hear from Vincent Mormon, who's also in the room, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, yes. So Vincent Mormon is an HIV activist living and working in Chicago. He is currently working on a one-man play. Invite Vincent to come. Oh, I'm reading. Please come up and share some words. Man, y'all making me look bad in front of my students. This is horrible. Vincent, please come up and share some words. It's good to meet you, brother.
Share some words. Wow. Okay, it's very good to be here. If I'm not mistaken, the next clip that you're going to hear is of me. But I do want to share what I'm doing now and what I hope to continue doing in the future. I am a performing artist, and I patterned my show from Whoopi Goldberg when she first came out in the 80s. It represents several conditions of the black men in America, as well as different kinds of black men who are stigmatized daily, and the show is called Stigmatized. It is the hope of the writer, me, that the audience will accept and respect the rawness of the characters. And it is the intention that each character is presented in an honest light. All characters are aspects of my reality. When President Obama was first elected in November 2008, the expectation in the black community was that things would get better for us. What happened instead was a resurrection of blatant disregard, disrespect, and contempt for the black man in general. The fear of a black man in power has reawakened certain mentalities we have worked so hard to change. At the same time, we, as black people, continue to be disconnected from each other. We kill each other, we abuse each other, and we're envious and jealous of each other. My show is an attempt to touch the spiritual consciousness of individuals in hopes of personal change for the good of all mankind, and let the truth set us free. I'm currently looking for a venue. I've been in rehearsal, so I'm just about ready. So if anyone would like to see it as a 45-minute production, see me. Thank you. I was molested at when I was 9 years old by two bullies. I think early on, after that happened, of course, I didn't tell anybody. I guess I processed it as it's not okay to be me. I was built like my mother. I was a boy built like her. I had a small waist, nice chest, nice hips with a bubble butt. And they tell me that I walked on my toes and I switch. I wasn't trying. It was just my natural way and my natural walk. In high school, I learned that I had some artistic talent. I was a natural dancer. Well, that was unheard of in my family because dancers were sissies and gay and this and that. Okay, so I suppressed a lot of me. It was very important to me since my father really wasn't in our lives. He was, but then again, he wasn't emotionally and mentally. And if he was, it was only for disciplinary reasons. So then I felt obligated to do whatever my mother said to do, whatever would make her happy or whatever. I chose that because I didn't want to feel abandoned, because I already felt abandoned by my father. I still would not allow myself to say that I was gay because I genuinely still felt for females, So I didn't really know who I was or what I was. I just knew that I had started to get a whole lot of attention from men. And I think from the lack of attention I was getting from my father, I kind of processed it in a sexual way. A guy that I was seeing prior to me leaving Atlanta to move to Los Angeles had called me. Apparently he had found me some kind of way in Los Angeles. He called me. He said he was in the hospital and that he had it, and that he had it when he and I were seeing each other, and that it was a deliberate act. If I can't have you, these were the words, if I can't have you, nobody else will. I don't feel like I harbor any grudges or hate towards anybody. The fact that I'm bisexual or gay, HIV positive, been addicted to drugs, have a major depression episode, a black man living in America today, all of these things in which society can try to hurt me, they can't, because I've already put it out. I've already forgiven myself, and I really want nothing but positivity to happen, and for me to spread the good around, and try to make a difference.
Thank you. I think that clip and what you shared with us it's really important that in our communities we think about what healing looks like. Because a lot of us come to know who we are through trauma. And a lot of us are walking around in our communities with PTSD, though we have not been to different kinds of sort of war as we know it, right? But we have been in war, in turmoil with our own communities, within our own families. And so what your story is bringing to light for me is, how do we figure out how to heal ourselves, and why is that priority when thinking about how to make healthy communities? So I'm opening it up here for discussion. So if you would like to sort of chime in on this, just let me know, signal out to me, okay? I'm going to come to you so that you can be heard on the mic. I'll give you a second to think about those questions. How about that?
Okay, so when you were talking about safe space, I coordinated a safe space at a university. So I think that safe space is an important tool and resource for all people, not just people of color, but definitely our black and brown sisters and brothers. They need that safe space. And where do you find a number of persons that are in trauma that are all in community, usually on college campus? You can find that. They're all going through the motions, but they are definitely having, experiencing trauma and having the outcome of that and not having that space. So I think that creating community, finding the community, if there isn't one there for you, then you have to create that safe space, meaning you have to find others that are like-minded and just search out for those resources. It may not always be family, but we know that family goes beyond bloodline. So you need to create that extended family. And then you need to reach out to those that you know can help you develop that space. And as you are helping others, then of course it helps you. So you may think that someone else is going through their PTSD, but actually you're experiencing your own trauma. So therefore, you reach out, and as you're healing them, you're healing yourself.
Thank you so much.
Maria back there mentioned creating community. So I'm going to put my executive director hat on again and just say that I know that's why Affinity was created, to provide that safe space for folks. Affinity came out of an action, actually, to queer the Bud Billiken Parade in 1993 because Black LGBT people weren't feeling like they had a safe space at the venues on the north side. And many of them lived on the south side and wanted to be visible, not necessarily in any radical way, if you will, but because they were well integrated in their communities on the south side of Chicago and west sides of Chicago. And making a statement by being in the Bud Billiken Parade actually created a safe space for a number of people who were, from what I understand, along the parade route, who actually came out to the group as they marched in the parade. And parents came forward and said, you know, I have a gay son or a lesbian daughter, and I'm glad you're here. So I think there are a number of ways to create safe space and acknowledge the trauma that we have all experienced. I'm just amazed that some of us are still walking some days, given all the trauma in our many, many, many communities and that we experience in our many, many, many identities that we cannot separate and silo as we do our work. So I'm always conscious of trying to create safe space, even if it's just a one-on-one interaction.
Thank you. Now, I want to name something that's going on here. So we ask about healing and trauma, and the reason that we start this discussion, right, is because a brother is sharing his story, right, and he's making himself vulnerable and talking about things that usually masculine folk don't talk about. What does it mean to have been a survivor, right? We don't talk about that as men. And so I just want to say that that is a powerful thing to do. And what does it look like for men to have space of healing? What does it look like to not always sort of rely on women to create and hold all of our stuff, right? That to me is an important question that I ask as a feminist, right? What does it mean for us to go down, someone would say like, go down into the hole of the ship, right? To really get in those deep places. As masculine folk, as male folk, you are not taught that those are places you are supposed to go, right? But what does it mean to come to grips with that journey of healing? And so I just want to thank you and commend you for sort of using your art, using your words to go there, right? That's brave. So thank you, really. So we are going to hear from our next clip, which is Willa Taylor, the Director of Education and Community Engagement at the Goodman Theater. She came in with Shelley Connor, and Willa begins by talking about her choir director, Roy, that worked at a church she used to attend.
Anytime there was an event, especially a family event or any special occasion, Uncle Roy always showed up alone. And when I got old enough to sort of feel some kinship to him around that particular issue, and I would ask about that, there was always that sort of side eye that I would get from a relative, and they would slightly change the subject. And I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, but what I came to realize was that everybody knew that Uncle Roy was gay. It was almost a non-issue. It was like, we're not going to talk about that. And I remember when he died, at the funeral, there was this guy who wept and wept and wept and wept and wept, and that we had never seen before. And I'm convinced that it had to be his lover, but he could not even grieve publicly for this man that he loved, that he lost, because, you know, he was in the closet. Did you grow up in the church?
Not exactly. I mean, like I said, my mom's Southern, so she made sure that we went to church.
Oh, yeah. And were there gay people in the church that you recognized even then, even though nobody said that?
Yes, and yeah, I won't say his name, but our choir director seemed very flamboyant to me. But he was married. He was married to a woman and had a little boy, and maybe he was heterosexual, but just effeminate.
Yeah.
But again, when we get into these gender roles and things like that, that's a whole nother conversation. But I do find that African American communities aren't homophobic. We're uncomfortable, and we probably group you with those who are suffering from drug and alcohol addiction and those that are criminals and And I will have to say, thankfully, that none of my family have, had any issues with leaving me alone with their children or anything, because sometimes people, can view you like that. So I am safe around children, pets, and purses.
But I also think that our notion of out about whoever you are and sort of claiming your identity just didn't exist back then. Like, I think about my mother. My mother never smoked in front of her father. There were things that she vehemently disagreed with him about, but that just was not discussed because who you were with your parents was not necessarily who you were. We compartmentalized ourselves in ways that allowed for people to sort of know but not know that you were gay. And because it would just never be talked about. It was sort of this open secret. I think about how difficult it must have been for Uncle Roy to not be able to be authentic about himself, and what a hard life it is to live unhappy.
I got a lot of you all heard of the term "in the life"? Like, oh, he's in the life, she's in the life. It's sort of it names that sort of condition of an open secret, right? Because if you're able to name that person's in the life, that means but then there's something that's not being said. And so I wonder, and I'm going to do this a little different this time because y'all were just too silent on that last question. So what I want you to do is turn to someone and talk about this notion of an open secret, right? Just discuss it for a second with your neighbor, and then we'll come back as a group. Once y'all just get your ideas together, your questions, okay? Think about some questions that you want to ask to the group. So you got to just turn to your neighbor, maybe a different neighbor than the last time, and really.
I don't know, because the same thing exists in like the Mexican and Latino community. There's actually it's a symbol of this, and that means you're gay. That person's gay. So it's just interesting how contradictory it is.
So we have some folks back here who got something to say. You want to add to the conversation, Dimps?
I'll go first.
Skelly?
Hello. I'm a student at Northwestern. I'm a freshman. So I play basketball. In case you didn't know, I'm not on the chess team. So, so we talk a lot about these things in class, and kind of like in what I feel like an open secret is, something that everyone knows, but it's a subject you don't bring up. Like, my girlfriend's uncle committed suicide in a hunting accident. And so there's things like, and hunting's really big in her family because she's from, the middle of nowhere, so that's what they do. So there's the guns and, deer and hunting and, her family. There's things that I don't talk about with her or bring up at all because I just know that it could be a really rough subject, and my family knows the same thing. And there's people that just have secrets, and, it's really hard to avoid subject like that, especially in, just normal conversations. But an open secret to me is... it's a very, almost kind of like a deep issue with people because, some people overlook these things, and I feel like people should understand that, people can be hurt by these secrets. So I feel like an open secret, is, like I said, it's the thing that everyone knows, but, people avoid.
You want to say something, Dips?
I'll say a question.
You got a question?
Because he pretty much covered it all.
What's your question? Go ahead.
My question is, I guess, my name is Trey. So based on Gavin's definition, oh, stand up. Okay. Based on Gavin's definition on an open secret, so within the queer community, should open secrets be discouraged? Is that kind of where we're going, or yeah?
That's a good question. I mean, that's something that we were talking about in our group, because I was saying that, you know, we actually live in a time where people always are asking you to come out, come out, come out. But why are we, in some ways I'm like, okay, but in the other ways I'm like, why do we always have to come out? I'm out. I'm here. You see me? You know, so I think that's a great question. That's a great question. Anybody want to talk? Okay, yes. Yes. I love to see hands going up. Look at what you started, Dimps.
Like I was telling my group, I'm not out to my family in the South yet. I'm working on it. But it's kind of difficult because they'll ask me certain things. They'll be like, why don't you have a boyfriend? And it's not a lie because I'm bi. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm not dating right now. But it might also be because I have a girlfriend, and I would like to be able to say that smart ass answer. But until yesterday, I was I'm the youngest living Ratchford. So like, all the pressure is on me. They're like, you're gonna pass on the genes and you're continuing the family line, and when are you? I'm not even able to legally drink yet, and they're like, when are you gonna settle down and have a family? And I'm like, I don't have a degree, I can't drink, can I live some life first? And I want to be able to tell them, one, that's not happening because I don't want kids. Two, I'm also very, very queer, so I don't know exactly how to have these tough conversations, but I know that once you have them, you feel so much better. Like, it's having the hard conversations brings us back to the healing. Like, it's something you need to do to not only for yourself, but probably for the other people around you. Like, it will bring you closer, it will mend some relationships, it will build some bridges, it will fix some things in your life you didn't needed fixing. So we should have these conversations and dispel these open secrets.
We pass the mic back here.
Yes.
Okay. I am Ty. I am a clinical and mental health counseling student at Adler University, and I know for me, coming from my family, substance abuse was very common. Family issues and violence was very common, but those are things that you do not take outside of the house. And those are also things that, although we know are happening inside of our household, we don't talk about them, even inside of our household. So for me, I didn't feel comfortable within my own identity because I was so used to defining myself by who my family thought I was or should be. I'm an only child. I am the baby of the family. I'm the only one who's went to college, who's graduated now in a master's program, who's, done sexual assault training, done domestic violence training. But I didn't feel comfortable in who I was. And that didn't come for me until I was able to go away to undergrad. I was able to be by myself. Being by myself created a space of awareness for me. And through that space of awareness, I was able to acknowledge and accept who I was as a lesbian woman of color. And then coming back to my family, although we didn't talk about it, my mom asked me, "Are you gay?" And I was just like, "Yes, I am." And it is not that big of a deal. Like, the fact that my mom asked me, and it wasn't judgmentally, she didn't care. She was just like, okay, so who we dating? And she accepted it, but I think for me, it took me to be okay with myself and know that I don't have to continuously define myself by my family or what my family wants me to be or who I should be. Now, they might not all agree with it, but they respect me and accept me for it because I'm comfortable with it. And I think that created a space of healing for me.
So everybody can't live an open and free life. It's just not advantageous to your existence. But for those of us that can, those of us who have families that are supportive, those of us who are in workplaces that support who we are, I think we have an obligation to create a presence of queerness So I'm an educator, and it is important to me that I am not closeted, or I'm not trying to curtail my lesbian ways, whatever they are, to my students, because they need to see me. They need to know that I exist. And some may identify with me. Some may just need to know that I exist so that they can better understand their sister or their mother or their children someday. And even as we go outside of the concept of sexuality, and we think about substance abuse and other taboo topics such as domestic violence and things of that sort, it is absolutely important that we talk about those things, because when we don't, we create a platform for those things to continue to occur in secret. Thank you.
Thank you. Both of those last comments were amazing. I really think this notion, what you said in the beginning, you said for those of us who can, right? Because not everybody can, right? So there's some of us who will come out, who will say, this is who I am. And people will still say, I don't care. I refuse to see you. And that's their issue, right? But you can't come to that place of being okay with yourself, which is what you were talking about, right? And that's what James Baldwin was talking about. How did he come to define himself as a person when everybody's telling you that black means this, white means this, white means you're the best, you're this, but I'm black, but I want to feel good about myself. So how do I redefine and reshape what these sort of identities are and make them, right? I have the power to make and create who I am. It's time for us to move on to the next clip. So, recipient of the 2014 Legends Award, Mama Gloria is a tireless advocate for the trans community. She runs Charm School for Trans Youth at the Center on Halsted. Originally from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Gloria moved to Chicago when she was 5. Gloria, would you like to come up here and say some words to the people?
Hello, my name is Gloria Allen, and I'm be 70 years old this year. And I've been around, I've seen a lot of things, and I am so happy to see the younger generation, I can say that, that you all are so united and coming together, because see, when I was coming up, things like this didn't occur. We didn't have places that we could go and sit and discuss about coming out. And I never came out, because I've always been out. When I came out of my mother's womb, I was with the purse, So, coming out, I don't know nothing about that. But I am so sorry that so many people have to go through the things, being tossed out of their families because of their sexual orientation, which I think is so sad for a parent to give birth to a child, and when the child grows up, they find out this child wants to be female, he's a male, but he wants to be female, she wants to be a male, and they kick the children out in the cold, and they have to get out and really navigate around how to survive. And sometimes they do things that shouldn't be done, and I blame the parents for that, because we kids, we didn't ask to come here. And see, I tell everybody, God don't make mistakes. Everybody's perfect. Everybody has a life, and nobody's the same, because if we all were the same, we'd be some boring creatures, So, get with it, love your children no matter what, And I, myself, I came up through a happy family. Everybody in my family accepted me. They knew I was so sweet. That's why I got diabetes today. They knew I was so sweet. I was really syrupy. And so, and I am the eldest of 13 kids. Yes, I got 9 brothers, and I have 3 sisters, including myself. But my family was a happy family. In Bowling Green, Kentucky, I lived on a farm. I did things, normal things, hunt, shoot, just like a boy, but I wasn't a boy. I knew that, I wanted to be like my mother, and my mother was a 1958 jet centerfold model. My mother was gorgeous, and I emulated her techniques. I wanted to be just like my mother, and I am so happy through the grace of God that I'm here to stand before you all and tell you all, live your life to the fullest. Don't care about what the neighbors say or the person down the street. Do what you want to do and be happy about doing it. People didn't understand me at all because coming from a biracial family, I had a hard time with, they would tell me, oh, you want to be white or you don't know what you are, you don't fit in. And the teachers that I had, it was some amazing teachers, but they couldn't cope with my ways when they found out that I was, gay, and I was just like, hey, I'm going to be out there. I'm here. You have to deal with it because I'm dealing with you. When I decided I wanted to be a girl, my boyfriend was against it. Oh, I love you as a boy and blah, blah, this. And I didn't want to do that. I was not comfortable being that way. I wanted to be myself. And so he left me. With my family, I didn't have to hide. The only time I went into the closet or come out of the closet was to hang up my clothes. We were religious and everything, but the love that my mother and father and my grandparents had given to me was, be proud of who you are and what you are. I looked up to my mother and grandmother, those two, and my aunt. They were the most amazing women in the world. The men, they didn't, they were standoffish from me because my father, I remember one time, my father got my brothers some jobs and I wanted a job too, And so I asked my dad, could he take me to work and give me a job? And my father, his excuse was, I don't think you would fit in there, And then I questioned my mother about it. And I told my, I think my dad is ashamed of me. She said, no, he's not ashamed of you, but there's going to be men there that wouldn't understand me. So I took that. Okay, well, he does love me then because he's trying to spare me from being hurt, and talked about. If you let people pull you down, they're going to always pull you down because you're going to always have that thought, oh, I'm no good, I'm not this. Look in the mirror because the mirror speaks for itself.
So, do y'all want to talk in the big group or do you want to do a small discussion first? Small discussion first. Okay. Well, I mean, I have so very many questions and we only have about 15, 20 minutes left. 20 or so minutes left. I mean, because there are a couple things that I would like us to talk about in this group. One is the way that we think of gender constructs, right? And how do we always say LGBT, oftentimes the B and the T are not people that we really hold in our communities. And the way, because our issues are different, right? We have to ask different questions. It's not only about different non-normative sexualities, but what does it mean to live in a different kind of gendered body, right? What does it mean to be trans? What does it mean to be genderqueer? How does masculinity and femininity, how do you carry these things in your body, right? We all carry both of those things, but how do we carry them?
Okay, you met me. My name is Gloria. Okay, now being, the label, I look at the umbrella. You have all these letters, LGBTQ, and all that. I don't get it, because see, when I was coming up, either you were gay or you were a lesbian, and that was it. We didn't have to go through all these tributaries to get to know who we are, And now I look at it, I'm really glad that you all are doing this now, because I'm saying, wow, this is amazing, queer gender and cis and all that stuff. What in the hell is going on here, But I love it, because I look at it and I am so proud to stand amongst you all this day and age. And it's amazing to see people can be who they really want to be, But the label part, I have to get used to that because I'm a woman, WOMAN. And I'm just so proud because you all are our future. And I see that it's going to be an amazing ride for a lot of you all. And I am so proud, because we couldn't get married back then. And I'm too old to get married, because if the man wants to marry me, I think he's after my pension and my Social Security. So I'm not getting married, And it is so, we can have babies and all, adopt babies. And some of you all are having babies, so, I'm happy.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Margaret Davis, and I'm speaking for the B in those initials. The Bs, we are the ones, the bisexual women, who are, people point fingers at us. We are not accepted. We get into a relationship and the question comes up, she's confused, she doesn't know who she wants, what she wants. But we know who we want. We want to be with whomever we're with. We love genders. We love. It's sad that we're not accepted in the gay community. We're not accepted at church. We're not accepted in our families because they say, about me, well, you don't know who she's going to be with. Oh, yeah, you know who I'm going to be with, whomever I'm with. Because whomever I'm with, my allegiance is to that person. I am loyal to them. But it is difficult making a woman understand that your loyalty is to that person. I was in a relationship for a long time, and many relationships, and we broke up, and after each one finishes, generally, whomever I was with, they say, well, who are you going to be with next? And my thing is, whomever comes, that I connect with. And that's just the way that I feel inside, but it's a lonely feeling. Sometimes it's really lonely. I met a lady recently, and she said, they said that you were gay. No, they said that you were bisexual, and I have to be careful. And this is recent. It's like people are still saying this crazy stuff. So, yes, people are still saying it. This was 2 weeks ago. And this, I hear it. And this lady was 20 years younger than me, so. I'm my sister right here, So we're the same. We're up there, but fortunately, spiritually, and my energy level is that I'm like in my 50s or early 60s. I ain't saying how old I am, that's not important. But spiritually, I am protected. Spiritually, and sometimes, and how you get it, I don't know, but sometimes you just have to go to the water. And you sit at the water and you talk to the universe. The universe will help you many times to connect. The only way I know to connect, because families many times won't do it, your coworkers won't do it. Your friends will do it for a moment, and when they get tired of listening to you, they'll tell you they don't want to hear you like I do my friends sometimes, and like he does me. You know, we shut each other down, but at least we find a common ground where we come together. We know each other's tone, that we need each other. And I like to say thank you for that. But I think the answer, my answer to the question is spiritually. Spiritually, I have to connect, and spiritually, I have to feel grounded, because I cannot depend on man or female. And I am the president of the singles ministry at my church. If they knew, you know, I hope none of my church members are here, otherwise they're gonna put me out next week, but it's okay, it doesn't matter one way or the other.
Thank you. I just want to point out something that's really important about what you were saying. So a person who is bisexual, oftentimes the issue is that you want to fix them, right? You want to know, do you like women or do you like men? Are you this or are you that? People are so interested in fixing us in particular identities. And oftentimes it's not about who you are, it's about who I am. I need to know where you're at so I can know where I'm at, right? So if I'm thinking about masculinity and femininity, the relationship, I don't know what those things mean unless they're attached to each other. I don't know how masculine I am unless I'm saying, okay, a little bit, I'm more masculine than you, a little bit less masculine, more feminine. You know what I mean? It's all about these juxtapositions, these relationships. And oftentimes we are afraid to go within, right? What you said, seek out that spirituality to figure out where you are yourself, not in relation to all these other things, right? What does it mean to go within and ask, who am I today? And tomorrow I might be something else, and that is okay, because it's my choice. I have that power. I mean, that's Audre Lorde, is that's the uses of the erotic, right? Right? That's what we just read in class, right? Do y'all know the uses of the erotic, Audre Lorde? Yeah. Anybody? All right, Vassin. You gonna come with it?
So, I'm not really sure if this is like on topic. Well, it kind of is, but let me stand up. So what we talked about in our group is just basically more like, I forgot your name, I'm sorry. Margaret. More like Margaret was talking about just like certain groups not being accepted. In her case, the Bs, but I feel like, I mean, it's probably just not only the Bs, it's probably just in general, the queer community sometimes. But what we were wondering is, what would it take, since it's been happening for a while, not being accepted, what would it take to change it? Or like, do you guys think it would be able to be changed, or like, how would someone improve that?
Question. We gonna share the mic, but I love that you want to participate.
I think we live in a very sex-negative world, in a very sex-negative city, and I think queers have a tendency to be real sex-negative too. And consequently, I think there is a lot of judgment. There's something other than monogamy in the world, and how we define intimacy. Like, what would you say about two people who don't have sex and who are same-gendered and identify as partners? So I think a lot of that has to do with that, and unfortunately, I will tell my age. I'm going to be 60 in September. And I have to say that I was blessed, because I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and there was a movement at the time that we referred to as everything is everything, as in we were very sex positive, we experimented, you know, we did a lot of things. We didn't necessarily identify completely with what we did with our physicality, whether our physicality was a kiss or gazing, and or all the way up to what some people would refer to as butt naked sex. So, you know, I think that it's going to require that. I think it's going to require us to really redefine the concept of intimacy, like spirituality, like you're referring to, Margaret, you know, in terms of connection. There's many ways to connect with people, and because you don't fit that garden variety, I don't think that that gives us the right to impose violence on one another, whether that's spiritual violence or emotional violence, because extreme manipulation and punishment is a form of warfare and or violence. So I think that's what it's going to take. I think it's going to take us deconstructing some of our pain and our suffering and our trauma to heal ourselves, so that maybe we will be a little bit more sex positive.
Thank you. We have time for one last comment.
Hi, everybody. It's Jasmine again. I think that in response to your question, I think that oftentimes we see within marginalized and disenfranchised groups that there's a need for people within that group to feel a sense of belonging, as well as the need to create a type of hierarchy so that they can feel empowered. And unfortunately, I think that oftentimes lesbians and gays feel that they're better than those who are bisexual and those who identify as trans. I think it can be likened to the way as someone, I think that might have been Kim, who spoke about how Affinity's presence on the South Side was needed because the black lesbians and the other lesbians on the South Side didn't feel comfortable going to the North Side because there is a sense of isolation and we're just marginalized, and we feel marginalized on the North Side. And I think for lack of sounding cliche, hurt people hurt people. So as I am marginalized, so I will pass that on and pass that same feeling of not belonging to others. And I think in order for that to get fixed, I hate to think that we have to depend on mainstream society to make us feel more accepted, but that may be what it requires.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are going to, with that sort of come. We're going to have some comments, and then we're going to close out.
Yeah, my name is Shirley. I work with StoryCorps. I just want to kind of close the evening and thank you. This was a beautiful discussion. Thank you to everyone who came to StoryCorps to record your story and all the lovely stories that we heard today. If you're ever interested in recording your story, please visit us at StoryCorps. We also partner with organizations where we take equipment out and record in the field. It's about diversifying the types of stories that we hear on the radio. It's about sharing your experience. It's about having that moment to really engage and just free yourself in a lot of ways, to have that story archived for life so that you do time capsule who you are this moment in time. So please come visit us. I really want to thank my team, Andre and Alicia and Francesco, who put this event together. Really, kudos to them. They did a great job. They really called on some really folks, some great folks in the community, and called on them to come and record their stories. I really want to give a special thanks out to Francesco, because he's our intern, and interns, they work hard and get paid nothing. And And he's lovely. And all the beautiful stories that you heard, you could imagine they're 40-minute conversations that are edited down to 2-3 minutes. And that in itself is an art. So everything that you heard, all the edited pieces, Francesco did that. So it was a labor of love for him, but I think he did a wonderful job, and I want to thank him for that. I want to thank Affinity. Thank you so much. This is a great partnership. I hope we can continue our partnership. I think we will. Chicago Urban League for providing the space and just hosting us and just being gracious. Kai, I love you. I just want to tell you that. I want you to facilitate all of our listening events. You guys heard it here. He's going to be on staff. So. And also Can TV for just reaching out to us and, just kind of doing like, hey, we'll show up. The Legacy Project, this beautiful display here and all the work that you guys do. Thank you so much, all of you guys, for this just being so vulnerable and so open and so beautiful and coming and eating the food. I really appreciate that. I'm very Latina, so if there isn't enough food and people don't eat, I get really traumatized. So, but Kai, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. So this has been an incredible discussion, and I want to thank you all for allowing me to take this journey with you. I really consider it an honor, especially for y'all incorporating my students. Yes, I'm proud of y'all. Yes. I want to leave us with this thing that I learned from my Black feminist ancestors, and it's something from the Combahee River Collective statement, if y'all know that. If you don't know it, you can go Google it and read it tonight, okay? So it just says that we are inherently valuable. No matter what, we are inherently valuable. The last class we had, we all went around and affirmed ourselves. And we said something of an affirmation, right? And my affirmation was, I am inherently valuable. I want you to take 5 seconds, think about what your affirmation is going to be tonight. And then we are going to, as a group, call it out together and put it in the atmosphere so that everybody knows and agrees that whatever it is you say, that is it. That is who you are. So take 2 seconds. Are y'all ready? You ready? Because when I say don't have me out here screaming by myself, okay? That's going to be embarrassing. You got your affirmation? Okay, we're going to give you a second to think about your affirmation. Because you can see, I can give you an affirmation. I can tell you that you're beautiful, but it doesn't mean as much if you can't say it yourself. You know what I mean? So I want you to leave here saying something about yourself and feeling it and holding on to it. Because that's why we're here, is to affirm us. This is why we tell our stories, is to affirm ourselves in our lives. When others said that we don't exist, we said, no, right here, there is proof that we have a history, right? Yes. And we're living. Yes. So, on the count of 8. We're gonna call it out. And if you don't have it right now, it might come to you at midnight. It might come to you tomorrow, but you're going to call it out, and you're going to affirm yourself, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm just giving y'all time to think. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am inherently valuable! All right, good night. I love you.